You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, despite all the investments to combat the homelessness crisis, the numbers are inching up in the Bay Area's biggest city.
They're not doing their job. They're not offering us housing out here.
But San Jose's mayor says there are signs of progress. Plus, imagine having your car stolen and getting a parking ticket. Why hundreds of Bay Area drivers are facing that frustration. And the increasing demand for a life-saving resource will take you inside a local milk bank to show you how a team is meeting the moment. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Makovic. Wednesday, rather. We're going to have these stories and lots more coming up right after our news headlines. San Jose police say that this fire was set intentionally, and they've charged the suspect with both arson and murder. The fire started early Sunday morning on North 27th Street, and police say when they got on scene, they learned an employee who was supposed to be inside couldn't be found, and the building was too unstable to go in and search. Well, the day after the fire, a body was found inside the rubble. Police have arrested 35-year-old Yesenia Estrada. She's been charged with murder and arson. Police have not said if she knew the person who died in the fire. That person's name has not been released. A driver smashed into at least 6 parked cars in Alameda overnight, leaving the street littered with wreckage. Fire officials say this happened just after midnight along Lincoln Avenue. A witness says he hid behind a tree. He was afraid the car would jump the sidewalk, and then a Good Samaritan managed to keep the driver at the scene.
He was stuck, and then another vehicle, like an older Toyota, with a camper, pinned him in so he couldn't leave just in case he was trying to get out and run.
Here's a look at the aftermath. Fire officials say the driver, identified as the only person hurt, was taken to Highland Hospital by first responders. He is expected to survive. That is a moment a Syrian news anchor ducked for cover live on air after a massive explosion in Damascus that rocked the area near the Ministry of Defense. Israel confirms it did launch an airstrike targeting what it called a military site in the heart of the capital. Israeli officials say the strike was meant to protect an Arab minority group that is fighting with government loyalists in Syria. The Syrian health ministry says at least one person was killed, 18 others hurt. Limited trash pickup has resumed in parts of West Contra Costa County. Republic Services is grabbing the garbage from homes and small businesses in Richmond and San Pablo. But recycling and green waste pickups are still on hold. Meantime, the garbage keeps piling up in some other Bay Area neighborhoods as a work stoppage extends into its second week.
They're very positive. I would not say that otherwise. I was directed. I said, hey, I don't want to give anybody else false hopes. And they specifically said it's very positive.
More than 2,000 Republic Services workers nationwide are on strike, pushing for better pay and benefits. And officials still looking into how this brush fire started near a neighborhood in Antioch. This broke out last night near Oakley Road and Willow Avenue, not far from Highway 4 and the Antioch BART station. It spread to nearly the size of 90 basketball courts. Firefighters contained the flames and rescued one person who had been camping in the area. That person had minor injuries. All right, midway through the week, let's get a check on our first alert forecast with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Let's take a quick look at what's happening for us as we head outside today. A couple changes in the forecast for us. Those cool, misty conditions we've been dealing with in the early morning hours are still kind of holding on tight to us throughout the next couple hours before those clouds start to retreat back along the coast throughout the afternoon. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon for us today. Temperatures a little bit cooler compared to normal thanks to low pressure moving in from offshore. Now, throughout the next 6 to 10 days, the Climate Prediction Center is still showing those below normal conditions, holding on tight, not only to us here in the Bay Area, but widespread all throughout the state of California. So how is that shaping out for us today? Well, think about it. It was just 2 days ago. We were talking about 90s over into Livermore and all the way over into places like Antioch. Today, we're in the low 80s, and it's a beautiful forecast, a little bit cooler compared to normal, but still a great day to get out there and get some fresh air. You make your way up into the North Bay now, places like Napa over into Vallejo. We were sitting in the upper 70s, lower 80s just a few days ago up in the North Bay, and now we're seeing temperatures cool down significantly widespread throughout our inland spots. Now, where that influence isn't that noticeable, it's our friends along the coast. Let's take San Francisco all the way down into Half Moon Bay, for example. 60s in the forecast today. We're going to hold on tight to that throughout the next couple days. So small day-to-day changes along the shoreline. But let's talk about the next 7 days. Because for our friends in our Bay Area forecast, places like Oakland and San Francisco, we're going to see upper 60s throughout the forecast today, tomorrow, lasting into Friday. Some low 70s trickled in there too as we head into our Sunday setup, actually. And then we're right back to where we were heading into Monday of next week. Cloudy skies in the morning, pulling back along the coast, exposing the inland spots to plenty of sunshine. That'll be the case each day too. But high pressure starts moving in, and that jumps our temperatures up into the mid 80s as early as Saturday into Sunday. We'll keep you updated on that forecast here in the Weather Center.
Well, the number of homeless people in San Jose is on the rise. That is despite a major investment in new shelters recently. The new numbers, according to the city's latest point-in-time count. But it's not all doom and gloom. Here's a look at some of the numbers. The count found that more than 6,500 homeless people are living in the city right now. That is up nearly 4% since the last survey conducted in 2023. But the number of unsheltered residents dropped more than 10%, from more than 4,400 to less than 4,000. Len Ramirez spoke with people that live there and the mayor about the mixed results and the work left to be done.
A lot of people don't want to live like this. They'd rather have somewhere they could call home.
Despite San Jose and Santa Clara County building thousands of new low-income units and tiny homes in recent years, some residents are still falling through the cracks, like Catherine Davis, who has been homeless for 6 years and now lives out of this crowded minivan.
They're not doing their job. They're not offering us housing out here. You know, they're just moving us around.
Catherine is just one of the roughly 200 people currently living at Columbus Park, one of the city's largest encampments. The location has become a visible symbol of a growing crisis that persists despite massive investment. But San Jose's mayor says there are signs of progress. According to the latest homeless count, more people are being housed than ever before.
The big news from my perspective is that we've significantly increased the percentage of our homeless population that is sheltered, that we have in interim housing or other shelter solutions, which means we are getting people off the streets faster, and we are making progress toward our goal of ending the era of encampments.
The survey shows that the population of sheltered homeless people rose 39% since 2019 in San Jose, well ahead of the state and the rest of the county. But the overall homeless population rose by 237 people since the last survey 2 years ago. The mayor called that statistically flat, given the size of the city. Still, critics argue that the city isn't going far enough. They say that only permanent housing, not temporary shelters or tiny homes, can truly address the crisis.
I believe he's trying to redefine the problem instead of ending homelessness and actually housing people in permanent housing. He's simply reducing the problem to getting people out of sight.
The people living at Columbus Park know time is running out. The encampment is set to be cleared next month, a process known as a sweep. For Catherine Davis, it will be her 5th time being displaced.
I'm just hoping and praying that something comes up for me. We have nowhere to go.
As city leaders weigh the next steps, one thing is clear: there are still hundreds of people asking that very question. Where do we go?
San Jose's progress was slightly better than Santa Clara County as a whole. Homelessness county-wide rose 8% from 2023. In Contra Costa County, though, whole different story. New numbers show that the county's homeless population is above 2,100 people. That is a 26% drop from last year. We talked with Supervisor John Joya and asked him what's been working.
It is all about housing with services on site. We've increased our both temporary and permanent housing beds. We've provided more emergency rental assistance. So those two strategies do pay off.
And while the county is on a good path, he says there is still obviously a lot more work to be done. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. Each year, thousands of people all over the Bay Area find out that their car has been stolen. We're going to talk to some of those people who say that a parking ticket has really added insult to injury. Plus, if you park for free at Golden Gate Park, enjoy it while it lasts. New plan to start charging for parking.
It would be really great if this was not yet another way that we're making life more challenging and expensive.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
It's a cool day for us today throughout the Bay Area. Daytime highs starting to drop just a little bit more compared to the past few days. We're holding on tight to 60s this afternoon along the Bay. 60s too as we head into this weekend's forecast. It's not until Sunday where we jump right back up into the low 70s. And speaking of 70s, actually, that's where we're at today in our inland spots. We're going to slowly start to see high pressure move its way in from offshore. That warms us up, it dries us up, it drops relative humidity. So we're going to see 80s right around the corner as we head into this weekend. And then it drops a bit more heading into early next week.
Police in San Jose say there was a fire that was set intentionally, and now they have charged both the suspect with arson and murder. Also talking about another investigation that is underway right now into a homicide case that was near Solari Park. Police say it happened back on March 9th near the Seven Trees Community Center. They got that call just before 9 at night that somebody was shot. Police say by the time they got there, the victim and the suspect had both left, but they soon got a report of a gunshot victim at the hospital. That person ended up dying, and police are still searching for the shooter. They say they might have some clues here, though, including this car. Police say somebody in this car interacted with the victim before the shooting. Right now, they're calling this a vehicle of interest. It's a Honda Accord Sport with tinted windows. Police say they also have a lead on a possible motive.
We have seen an increase in gang activity there in the area of Solari Park, which is over there in the 3500 block of Cass Drive. And although we are still investigating the circumstances of the actual shooting, right now indications have proved that this was a gang-motivated incident.
This was San Jose's fourth homicide of the year. Every year, thousands of people in Oakland have their cars stolen, and many of them now say that it feels like the city is also reaching into their pockets. Now, we should point out that vehicle thefts are way down in Oakland so far this year. The numbers of reports have dropped by nearly half. That is according to the latest data from the city. But that trend, not much comfort to the 3,300 people who reported their vehicles stolen so far this year. And they tell our Kara St. Cyr the city is only making matters worse.
Apples, gone to apples. Holy smokes, someone found my car.
Just before the pandemic, Andy got a parking ticket in the mail, which was odd because his car had been stolen.
And it was on neighborhoods down off of 73rd. So we drove down there, and there, lo and behold, there it was.
When he found his 1987 van, it wasn't how he remembered it.
The stereo was gone, the battery's gone, the shocks are maxed out, so those got blown out.
It cost $1,800 to fix. That $60 parking ticket just added insult to injury.
But it's the principle. It's like, oh, why don't you slap me in my face?
Years later, and stolen cars are still getting ticketed in Oakland. A report by the Alameda County Civil Grand Jury found that between 2022 and 2024, more than 1,500 stolen vehicles were ticketed.
People that have their cars stolen are already victims of crime. Shouldn't be harder to kind of deal with the ramifications of that.
Adam Cohen, the jury's foreman, says the grand jury found that there's a disconnect between the parking control technicians and the vehicle enforcement unit. The Oakland Department of Transportation doesn't have a system in place that allows technicians in the field to identify stolen vehicles. Car owners can resolve the tickets by appealing them.
831, and my parking ticket was denied.
But the process isn't always smooth.
Eventually it did get resolved, but after lots of heartache, and it was just, more slaps in the face.
The grand jury suggests creating a specialized system that includes stolen vehicle reports without disclosing confidential information. Neighboring cities like San Francisco already use something similar.
Could use a paint job.
That way, people like Andy might be spared the headache.
Yeah, so this got damaged.
Though the nightmare for Andy is finally over, the ticketing debacle lives with him forever.
Dirt left over from the concrete.
But he still has his van.
Get it ready for a trip.
And at the end of the day, that's worth more than any ticket could ever be.
A spokesperson for Oakland Transportation Department released a statement saying it is, quote, procuring our next generation parking citation management system right now, and support for stolen vehicle hot list information is one of our requests for improved technology. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors approving a plan to ban people from living on the streets in RVs. We've been covering this proposal for weeks. That proposal from Mayor Lurie sets a 2-hour parking limit for oversized vehicles. An amendment to that measure requires that the city help SFMTA manage a permit program for temporary exemptions. But critics say the details of that program have still not been fleshed out. Get ready to pay to park your car in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. The Board of Supervisors took up a proposal to let the SFMTA set parking fees for the park. It passed by a vote of 10-1, Supervisor Fielder being the lone no vote. Right now, there are thousands of free spots that fill up quickly on weekends. Lauren Toms talked with people in the park who are not exactly thrilled about paying to park.
More than 24 million people visit Golden Gate Park each year. Today, Gail came to celebrate something unforgettable, her son's wedding, just hours earlier.
We had a simple ceremony at the city courthouse today and had decided to have a picnic here.
Like many, she drove and parked in the 1,000-acre park that could charge vehicles to pay to park along the winding curbs.
You know, there are just certain things that are really important to keep available for healthy lifestyles and for families to do together. And coming to parks is one of those things.
Gail was one of about a dozen park goers I spoke with, none of whom were on board with the idea of paying to park. They say Golden Gate Park, which is even larger than New York's Central Park, has always been a place of open access. David comes several times a week to walk his dog and says the change could alter his routine.
I don't want to pay $3 or4 every time I have to walk my dog. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
But the city's Recreation and Parks Department isn't concerned about a decrease in visitors. Tamara Barrick-Apperton tells me the estimated $3 an hour fee to park would help boost the department's budget, which is facing a $12 million deficit.
People love having well-maintained parks and ball fields. They like having classes and summer camps for their children, and we want to keep that in place. And with a $12 million deficit, this is the best way to do it.
The proposed cost, about the same as a one-way bus ticket to the park. It's a comparison the department hopes will frame the fee not as a burden, but as a balance.
$3 an hour is about fairness. It's comparable to a muni ticket, and if people are taking transit to get to the park, why should they be paying more than people who drive here?
The park has about 3,200 spots, and while many sit empty during the week, on weekends they become a hot commodity. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie sponsored the proposal and tells us in a statement the expected revenue will, quote, protect not only our parks across the city, but also the summer camps, pools, and programs that thousands of families rely on. And while those amenities are welcomed by many, Gail says it's about access for all.
In a time when life is just increasingly more and more expensive in every way, it would be really great if this was not yet another way that we're making life more challenging and expensive for outdoor recreation and good, healthy living.
Well, it's not just parking. Supervisors also approved a proposal to begin charging $5 to rent pickleball and tennis courts. A plan to revamp a crumbling marina is going forward in the city of Martinez. After years of flooding, storm damage, and mounting costs, city leaders are going to unveil a new vision for the waterfront at today's council meeting. We've learned the city of Martinez may team up with a private developer to rebuild their marina from the ground up. Still ahead, there is a high demand for breast milk from hospitals in our state. We're going to meet the team behind a local milk bank. collecting what they call liquid gold. Well, the demand for breast milk is surging after a new state law loosened restrictions on what can be given to babies in the hospital. Suji Nam takes us inside a local milk bank and introduces us to the team that is collecting what they call liquid gold.
Today we got about 24 coolers in.
Cynthia Potacek makes sure every breast milk donation is squared away at Mother's Milk Bank, California.
And on the bottom there are larges.
About 1,200 screened donors serve this nonprofit organization based in San Jose. But recently, Potacek, the donor services team lead, says there has been a greater need.
We have an increased demand for milk at this time, and so we're really reaching out to our community, hoping for their support.
Ever since a recent state bill known as the Human Milk Bill passed, the bank has seen a 30% increase in demand from hospitals all over California, especially in the Bay Area. Hospitals now have fewer legal hurdles to store and distribute milk donations.
It has made it easier for hospitals to use milk. They no longer are required to have a tissue bank license, and also commercial insurance companies are now covering this life-saving nutrition.
Potacek has been busier than ever trying to meet this demand.
Here in the thaw room, we do need to cover our hair.
It's an arduous process once families ship their frozen breast milk to the milk bank. The staff thaws the milk before homogenizing it. Then it's bottled, pasteurized, and then frozen again.
Because the sample is sent out to the county, we're required to wait until we get confirmation that it's safe, and then we're able to ship it out to our hospitals.
Mother's Milk Bank ships out about 7,000 ounces of milk daily to about 60% of hospitals in California.
These are the...
Tessa Elkins, a San Jose mother, has donated 3,000 ounces of milk.
Families in need who aren't able to produce breast milk for their babies. So I wanted to be able to do that.
Donations from new mothers like Elkins help save lives of NICU babies, infants whose mothers may not be able to breastfeed, and even foster babies.
And if it's just 2 ounces at a time, all of that milk can save a baby's life.
And with this teamwork of compassionate Bay Area mothers, the mission is personal.
I personally pumped for my son when he was in the hospital, and so I know how stressful it can be.
And Potacek hopes that more mothers can jump in and help.
Breast milk isn't just nutrition, it's medicine.
Because every ounce of milk can save a child's life.
Mother's Milk Bank California says more than 16 million ounces of milk were given out thanks to more than 25,000 donors over the past 50 years. Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, volunteers at Oakland's animal shelter say conditions there are unsustainable. How budget cuts are forcing the city to make some tough choices.
We have people in the parking lot letting animals loose. We have people on our streets, at parks. This problem is only going to compound.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. Police in San Jose says one person was killed in a fire, and they've arrested a person for suspicion of murder and arson. The fire broke out early Sunday morning on North 27th Street. Police found a body inside the rubble a day after the fire, and now they have announced the arrest of 35-year-old Yesenia Estrada of San Jose. They have not yet released a motive. A driver smashed into at least 6 parked cars in Alameda overnight, leaving the street littered with wreckage. Fire officials say this all happened just after midnight along Lincoln Avenue. A witness managed to keep a driver at the scene. Fire officials say the driver was the only person hurt and was taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive. And as the garbage strike continues, limited trash pickup has resumed in parts of West Contra Costa County. Republic Services grabbing garbage from homes and small businesses in Richmond and San Pablo. But recycling and green waste pickups are still on hold. Meantime, the garbage keeps piling up in many other Bay Area neighborhoods as that work stoppage extends into its second week. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast midweek with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Let's take a quick look at what's happening for us as we head outside today. A couple changes in the forecast for us. Those cool, misty conditions we've been dealing with in the early morning hours are still kind of holding on tight to us throughout the next couple hours before those clouds start to retreat back along the coast throughout the afternoon. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon for us today. Temperatures a little bit cooler compared to normal thanks to low pressure moving in from offshore. Now, throughout the next 6 to 10 days, the Climate Prediction Center is still showing those below normal conditions holding on tight, not only to us here in the Bay Area, but widespread all throughout the state of California. So how is that shaping out for us today? Well, think about it. It was just 2 days ago. We were talking about 90s over into Livermore and all the way over into places like Antioch. Today, we're in the low 80s, and it's a beautiful forecast, a little bit cooler compared to normal, but still a great day to get out there and get some fresh air. You make your way up into the North Bay now, places like Napa over into Vallejo. We were sitting in the upper 70s, lower 80s. Just a few days ago up in the North Bay, and now we're seeing temperatures cool down significantly, widespread throughout our inland spots. Now, where that influence isn't that noticeable, it's our friends along the coast. Let's take San Francisco all the way down into Half Moon Bay, for example. 60s in the forecast today. We're going to hold on tight to that throughout the next couple days. So small day-to-day changes along the shoreline, but let's talk about the next 7 days. Because for our friends in our Bay Area forecast, places like Oakland and San Francisco, we're going to see upper 60s throughout the forecast today, tomorrow lasting into Friday. Some low 70s trickled in there too as we head into our Sunday setup, actually. And then we're right back to where we were heading into Monday of next week. Cloudy skies in the morning, pulling back along the coast, exposing the inland spots to plenty of sunshine. That'll be the case each day too, but high pressure starts moving in and that jumps our temperatures up into the mid 80s as early as Saturday into Sunday. We'll keep you updated on that forecast here in the Weather Center.
Oakland City Council has passed some changes in hopes of easing the burden on the overcrowded city-run animal shelter. A nonprofit supporting the shelter says that since 2020, Oakland Animal Services has lost 40% of its supply budget and 30% of its staff. At the same time, animal intake is up 40%. Well, the changes include shortening the holding period, the time before a shelter can euthanize animals, and allowing the facility to turn away animals when there's no capacity to care for them. John Ramos spoke with a volunteer who says she doesn't want these changes, but there's no other option.
It is the mission of the Oakland Animal Shelter to care for unwanted and abandoned animals in the community, and the staff here will move heaven and earth to make that happen. But the last budget cut was so deep that they're now pursuing a policy that would, for the first time, allow them to turn animals away. If someone had an animal to turn in at the shelter today, they were out of luck. Prior budget cuts have closed the facility to the public on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But now they want to change the policy so they can refuse new animals at any time when there just isn't enough room or staff to care for them.
We want to be abiding by best practices, but it's also true that by doing that, we will make it easier for the staff, and so the staffing shortage won't have as severe of an impact.
Oakland has always been what's known as an open admissions shelter. By law, they are required to accept any animals surrendered to them. The new ordinance would give them discretion. But some volunteers, who make up the majority of the workforce, say it's just an excuse to accept inexcusable cuts to their budget.
What they're changing is that the shelter can say, well, we can't take this dog, we can't take this cat because we no longer have the staffing, the resources, the ability to do it. And that's the problem. The problem is that they keep cutting the budget. Just recently they cut 8 permanent full-time staffing positions, so we'll have even less people working with the animals. It's just a mess, and we want the people of Oakland to know about this.
Johanna Widger and Willow Learoff donate their time to taking care of the animals in the shelter. They say the new ordinance may be a practical reality, but it will have dire consequences in the future.
We have never seen such a severe and drastic staffing shortage as we have now. To lose 8 full-time positions from an already skeleton crew of staff is devastating, and the shelter is truly in crisis because of it. We have people in the parking lot letting animals loose. We have people on our streets, at parks. This problem is only going to compound.
And the heartbreaking results were suddenly there to see. A woman arrived carrying a tiny newborn kitten she had just found in the street.
This little baby was under a car, a parked car, so.
but then she was told there was no one available to accept it, and she left with the kitten still in her arms. The volunteers say the shelter has been an easy target for the budget axe, and they have been dealing with more and more cuts every year. But now they say they have been cut too far, and the solution of turning away animals from an animal shelter is really no solution at all.
I had to bring this up because I think that it's important for people to know that we've had death by 1,000 cuts.
With this staffing crisis, there's no easy immediate answer for it, but changing an ordinance is something that is disastrous to the community.
The director says he would like a system that tries to connect pet owners with the help they may need to keep their animals. But the volunteers say with the budget cuts, there is simply no one left in the building to do that.
Well, meantime, San Jose has spent the past 7 months trying to implement dozens of changes recommended by an internal audit back in December. That audit found the shelter was completely overcrowded and horribly unsanitary, with some animals living in their own filth. Also increased the animal care and services budget by nearly $2 million and is in the process of hiring someone new to run the department. And just last month, we reported on overcrowded shelters issues in San Francisco, leading there to an increase in euthanasia. City officials believe are placing the blame mainly on people returning pets they adopted during the pandemic and not getting their animals spayed and neutered. They also say the local SPCA is not taking in as many pets from the city shelter as it used to. Well, a group of bear cubs keeping a rescue group busy in Placer County. These cubs come from all over Northern California, but they share a similar tragic background. Reporter Connor McGill has that story.
The team here says they've seen nothing like it. 6 bear cubs brought in just a matter of a week. Now under their care, they're capturing the attention of thousands on social media. 6 black bear cubs rescued in just days from all across Northern California. Rubicon and Tahoe, Lassen and Trinity, Shasta and Rollins. All of them orphaned in their very first few months of life.
We're one of only 3 rehab facilities in the state of California to have a permit from CDFW, that's California Department of Fish and Wildlife, to be able to rehab black bear cubs.
Gold Country Wildlife Rescue is working closely with the Bear League, a group that's been helping bears for nearly 30 years, and now sharing these cubs' stories online.
They're all different, they're all unique, and yeah, you get really attached because we sit and watch them live.
Right now, each cub is just 5 to 6 months old, weighing between 20 to 25 pounds. The goal? Help them grow strong enough to be released back into the wild.
Right now, they're little tiny cubs, but by the time we release them next spring, they're typically anywhere between 150 and 175 pounds.
The team knows the reality. Not all cubs have it out alive. But there's hope for these 6, now safe in the rescue's care.
We know we're going to lose some. It's just part of life. But we hope that the rest of them make it. So far, so good.
Gold Country Wildlife Rescue says the cost of raising the wild cubs can add up quickly. They're asking the public for donations. A staple of San Francisco's Mission District has cemented its spot long-term. The staff at the Roxie Theater announcing their purchase of the building at 16th and Valencia Streets is moving forward. The staff had been working for months to raise $7 million. That purchase closed in May. The theater had been renting out the location for the past 112 years. Henry Rosenthal, who is a member of the Roxie Theater board, called the purchase a dream come true. He tells us what moviegoers can expect going forward.
It's a revitalized theater with new technology, new screens, just upgraded everything, and a well-maintained building, and that we hope will carry us forward indefinitely into the future.
He also says the support from the public has been overwhelming since they started raising money for the purchase. Coming up next, while most kids are enjoying their summer break, we're going to introduce you to a group of Bay Area teens back in the classroom, perfecting an invention to help people with mobility issues.
And it basically just makes it easier to do everyday tasks like picking up like a pencil or like grasping objects.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
It's a cool day for us today throughout the Bay Area. Daytime highs starting to drop just a little bit more compared to the past few days. We're holding on tight to 60s this afternoon along the bay. 60s too as we head into this weekend's forecast. It's not until Sunday where we jump right back up into the low 70s. And speaking of 70s, actually, that's where we're at today in our inland spots. We're going to slowly start to see high pressure move its way in from offshore. That warms us up, it dries us up, it drops relative humidity. So we're going to see 80s right around the corner as we head into this weekend. And then it drops a bit more heading into early next week.
Well, most high school students are enjoying their summer vacation away from school, but one group of teens in the East Bay decided that they would rather spend their free time inside the classroom. They're trying to perfect their latest invention after being honored with a very prestigious award from MIT. Ryan Yamamoto shows us it is a high-tech design that could someday help people with hand mobility issues.
When a group of students at Ignacio Valley High School were handed a problem,
I'm controlling each of the fingers individually.
This is the invention Jonathan Perez and his peers came up with.
For example, the middle finger, I can bring it all the way down. And then same thing for the index and the ring finger.
So this is our prototype.
A prototype that Anaya Taylor describes as an exoskeleton hand.
This project is officially named Dextera, and it basically just makes it easier to do everyday tasks like picking up like a pencil or like grasping objects.
The students at Ignacio Valley High School began working on the blueprints and concepts for their design back in October. After their proposal earned them a Lemelson MIT Invent Team grant worth $7,500. The goal, come up with a technological solution to real-world problems. Each piece of their design created inside the classroom.
And we get the G-code from this and then export it into the SD card.
Althea Vivar showing us how they used a 3D printer to build each component.
There's one for the fingers. There's one for the palm, one for the wrist, and in another iteration, we have a whole arm brace.
Everything starting from scratch.
And this app is very simple.
Like Lee, even building the app that controls the hand.
It's very easy to access since everyone's using phones.
And this past June, the Ignacio Valley Invent Team traveled from the East Bay to the East Coast, where they presented their invention to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, along with 8 other high schools across the country. And to their surprise, they were honored by MIT with this trophy called the Golden Beaver Award.
This is so prestigious. It's given by the MIT Lincoln Lab and the MIT School of Engineering. This is only given to one invent team every year. And this year, we were the ones who they decided as the most technological advanced invention.
And this summer, they're already busy working on the next version. The exoskeleton going from prototype to eventually meant to wear.
And then we have our arm brace, which houses the motors and basically can like act as like a stabilizer.
The students hoping one day their design will truly give someone a helping hand.
The Ignacio Valley High School's Invent Team's design is now patent pending. They presented a demonstration to the Concord Rotary Club, who helped sponsor their trip to the East Coast. By the way, if their teacher, Joseph Alvacaro, looks familiar, we featured him in a story last year when he was honored as 2024 Teacher of the Year for the state of California. Golden State Valkyries back in action today as they take on the Storm in Seattle for an early game. Team hoping to rebound after losing 4 of their last 5 games. It is Golden State's last game before a 9-day break as the All-Star game is set for this Saturday in Indianapolis. Kayla Thornton is the Valkyries' lone All-Star in their inaugural season. And you can watch the Valkyries take on the Seattle Storm on Pix Plus. 44 Cable 12. Our pregame coverage starts at 11:30 this morning. Levi Stadium set to host 6 matches in the upcoming World Cup. And now we're learning that it is going to be known as San Francisco Bay Area Stadium for the tournament. That's probably going to cause some controversy. But if you want to go to those matches, FIFA has announced applications for tickets will open on September 10th. FIFA not releasing any of the specifics beyond that September 10th date, other than to say due to anticipated high demand, tickets will be released in phases. Coming up, wild story here. An East Bay family adopts a dog and launches an investigation.
For a half-second thought she might have been in my phone's photo album because they just looked so similar.
And what they discovered is something they say they can't even begin to explain. All right, we want to introduce you to this rat terrier chihuahua mix named Rufus. He was a proud member of the Reef family from the East Bay for 15 years before he crossed the Rainbow Bridge in April. So that's when the family decided to rescue another dog, this one named Ziggy. Notice any resemblance there? Well, it turns out the 2 dogs share a lot more in common than just their looks. Our Amanda Harry has this story on a twist of fate that left a grieving family believing in miracles.
Ziggy, come here.
Some connections come only once in a lifetime, but for the Reef family, it came twice.
I don't think there was more of a true example of like love at first sight.
That's how Jillian Reef remembers meeting her dog Ziggy back in April. It was just days after losing Rufus, who she described as her soul dog. Rufus was there for every milestone over the last decade of her life.
We were engaged and Rufus was there. He actually had the ring tied around his neck. And when my husband and I got married, he was there. He was wearing a little tux and he was in City Hall pictures. And then when we had our children, so Maya and Benjamin, Rufus was actually the first family member to meet both of our kids, even before Grandma.
Rufus passed away quickly and unexpectedly earlier this year, leaving the family heartbroken. That night, Reef's 6-year-old daughter, Maya, was looking at adoptable dogs. She stumbled upon Ziggy at Muttville in San Francisco and showed him to her mom.
They both look like the same colors.
In the state of mind that I was in, I looked at it and for a half-second thought she might have been in my phone's photo album because they just looked so similar.
Reef couldn't stop thinking about Ziggy. She agonized over his photo, visiting his profile hundreds of times over just a few days. She knew she needed to make an appointment at Muttville to meet him.
When Ziggy trotted through that little gate with the adoption counselor, and I could see that he was lumpy and bumpy and old and a little wobbly, which is what Rufus was when we lost him, I didn't have any questions.
They committed to adopting him within minutes. After they took him home, the similarities became more apparent, including the way they communicated.
We learned that probably hour 2 of him being here because he was hungry and we weren't moving quick enough. And suddenly from the corner, that very familiar, like warbling sound, my husband said, "Oh my God, is that Ziggy?"
Reef decided to DNA test Ziggy, something they had done with Rufus back in 2017. She was at work when she got the results. It confirmed they were both rat terrier chihuahua mixes, but there was another tab that said relatives.
Rufus was Ziggy's son, and I was so panicked in that moment. I think I probably shouted in my conference room. I know I made some kind of, it might have been an expletive, I don't know, but it was a lot of emotion.
Rufus was about 15 years old when he passed. They estimate Ziggy is 16 or even 17 years old. Reef went straight home to hug Ziggy, grateful for this unexpected miracle.
And this doesn't make sense, and I have to be okay with that and just accept it as the amazing gift that it is.
Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.